Hello, World Templars. It's a Littlefinger. Hey, there is still time to get a free tank in this Blitz Cup event that is going on. You can see that flaming Blitz Cup here, and I'll talk about that here in a second. But Wargaming is offering one of three amazing tanks for you to choose from. The Progetto 46, which is a super mobile, active auto reloading, great burst damage tank. The Action X, which is a big British heavy tank with some really great armor, high rate of fire, low damage gun. And then a tank that kind of fits into the middle here, the Centurion Mark V, is a little bit smaller, but great armor, good mobility. And so how do you know which tank to choose? And that's what this video is going to focus on. If you didn't, please go visit my previous video on how this whole event is working. But real quick, I will run through it here. This is the event Ready, Set, Blitz Cup, Action X, Centurion, and Progetto. You're going to need 600 of these cups in order to get this charm. Okay, you can see I already have 220, which means I still need 380. You get 10 for each win of the day and 80 per stream that you watch. So even if you missed the Asia server, there's still time. There's still 6 streams to go, and all you need to do is watch 5 of those and complete your daily wins in order to get this Blitz Cup charm. What I wanted to point out here, even if you have all 3 of these tanks, 3,750 gold. So you will, once you get the charm, come on down to the Blitz Cup esports section here and go ahead and choose one of these 3 tanks, and we'll get into these tanks here in a second. But first, I wanted to point out the times for this event. If you go to the news feed here, tomorrow, Thursday, November 11th, is the first stream, and for me here in North America, it's going to be 11 a.m. For those of you on the West Coast, that's 8 a.m. Friday is going to be an hour earlier at 10 a.m. The best way to get to this is to click this button and hit watch stream. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that up, and you can be taken to this page here. And this is where you want to watch the stream in order to get the benefits and get those charms and those flames, which is what is the current battle pass as well. So you're going to get some free levels on the battle pass as well. First, make sure you're logged in here in the upper right hand corner. Then come on over to Blitz Cup CIS. Right now, only day 1. Day 2 will show up over here. Go ahead and click on it. Now, when the feed is live, you'll see the video here. What I wanted to point out real quick, down here on the lower left-hand corner, you will see your username. That is how you know that you are logged in. Also, there will be 2 timers here, a white timer and a blue timer. The white timer is the time that the stream has been running that you have not gotten credit for. The blue is time that you have gotten credit for. These up here will be in color, and you will see progress. As the minutes tick on, this bar will move forward and then reset, like for this one, every 30 minutes. But warning, guys, if you close this tab, minimize the browser, go on and browse something else on a different tab, you're not going to get credit. This has to stay on top. My recommendation might be just to go ahead and watch this, say, on an iPad or tablet or something like that, where you can be mobile and yet keep this open and watch the streams, which have been quite entertaining. All right, so let's go back to the garage. All right, guys, now that we're back in the garage, I just wanted to pull up my stats in these 3 tanks because I think that gives you a good feel for how I play them. If you've watched, numerous of my battles, you kind of know my play style. And with the Action X there with 98 battles, 70% win rate, and 1935 as average damage, I am not a huge fan of, the really slow tanks, but my least favorite tank is a slow tank that's got a really long reload and does big damage because you're penalized so much for missing a shot. That isn't so much the case with the Action X because you've got to be a little bit more on target, which you can handle because you've got great armor. and it does have a little bit faster reload than some of the normal object 252Us, etc. So you're doing less damage, more shooting. Now, kind of carrying the armor over to the Centurion, and we'll see that when we get into Armor Inspector. It's got great frontal armor, more mobility, and a very, very similar gun. So 72% win rate on only 25 battles, a little bit less average damage. And then the Progetto, just over 100 battles there, 67% win rate. So very, very comparable win rates on all three of these tanks. Just over 2,000 average damage, which, with the active auto loader on that tank, you really can pump out some burst damage, which explains to me a little bit why the damage is higher, but the win rate not as good just because the tank does not have quite the armor profile. So let's go ahead and compare these tanks and then talk about which one is going to be best for you. All right, guys, so what better way to compare tanks than using blitzstars.com, Progetto, the 5.1, and the Action X. All right, so straight off the bat, you'll see the Action X, 2,500 average damage. Pen and Alpha, the exact same as the 5.1 here. But big difference in damage per minute. Now, with the Progetto, your damage per minute is even much lower, but keep in mind here, 2.5 seconds between being able to shoot almost 750 damage in 5 seconds. So you can get in there, you can do a little drive-by or whatever, unload a clip in 5 seconds, and then kind of hide and let that reload take effect. The key here, and if you're not that good or you haven't had much practice with it, really keeping track of when that second or third shell is going to load. You might be in a situation where if you just wait 1 second, you're going to get 2 shells instead of 1 shell, or 3 shells instead of 2 shells. So you really have to keep an eye on that timer in the center to know when you're ready to shoot. And I'll talk about that when we get into some gameplay. Not a lot of difference here in the caliber or shell velocity of these three tanks. And here's what I love about these. I mean, look at the weapon handling on these tanks. Basically, you can get this down to below 3 as soon as you add any sort of equipment on it. This is without equipment, guys. So 9 degrees on the Progetto, 10 degrees of gun depression on the Centurion and Carnarvon. But look at these aim times and dispersions. Just makes these tanks so strong. So let's get into movement and mobility. 55 kilometers per hour for the Progetto. In the middle there at 45 is the Centurion, and 36 for the Action X. And so this does get into that little bit of the slow feeling, what I'm really not comfortable playing. And so 14.7 is your effective horsepower per ton ratio. It's going to affect how you accelerate, how long it takes to get to that top speed. Both of these other tanks have really nice power to weight ratios, so they're going to get to their top speeds much faster, which is why the damage per minute number is lower, because it takes you longer to get onto target in the Action X. But check out the armor on these. So we know we don't have a lot of armor on the Progetto, 80 and 60, but there is not hardly any difference on the frontal armor between the Centurion and the Action X. 254 on the turret, 127 on the hull versus 130. Not a lot of difference. So you've got a medium tank with a lot of armor. So to me, the best overall is going to be the Centurion. The most fun really is the Progetto. But if you just love that heavy tank, that hold down play style, you can't go wrong with the Action X. And I think these win rates here show it. So this is 90-day average. You have to have played 100 battles over that 90 days for these to get calculated into the statistics here. But just look, 56, 58, 57%, average damage right in there in the 1600s, which is right where you want a tier 8 to be. And look at these Hall of Fame numbers here, 7,000. These are great tanks. And you really can't pick a wrong one. But I do think that depending upon your personal playstyle, there's probably one that would be better than the other. So let's just jump over into the armor just so you get a better understanding. You've got some spaced armor here hiding basically the tracks and around the turret. But because, you know, you've got this really rounded turret here, you're going to see some decent numbers on the top. So getting hull down, this tank can kind of hold its own. So let's go ahead and look at what that is with the pen. So you can see some reds here. Not a whole lot. You're not going to bounce a lot, but it is noteworthy that you know, the tank can bounce a few shots. There's your 9 degrees of gun depression. Just not a whole lot of armor anywhere else. And this is being shot at with another Progetto. Same for all of these tanks. We've got the Centurion here, 5.1. We've got some darker colors here around the sides. I mean, look at this, 360, 239, you know, 300. We've got a very, very small hatch at the top here. And, you know, if you lean that back, that almost becomes invisible. And then look at these numbers here on the front of the hull. So, oops. Look at these pen numbers here. This is a Progetto shooting at you. You got to just worry about hiding this lower plate, really. So hold down, little beast here, with good movement. Now we switch over to the Action X. You've got added spaced armor here on the sides of the turret and skirts there. So again, some really dark orangey colors here. So a lot of great armor. I mean, look at this. You do have to be concerned a little bit on the hatch. But again, get that thing, hold down, use that 10 degrees of gun depression, and that makes that really, really difficult to hit. So the next 3 videos, I'm going to have 3 games each for each of these tanks, so you can see them in action. Kind of difficult these days to get, you know, consistently good games, very lopsided teams one way or the other. So might be a mixed bag of what you get here, but hopefully over 3 battles is enough to give you a good idea of what you can expect from these tanks. And guys, don't forget to watch those streams and get that daily victory and get yourself a great free tank. All right, guys, Littlefinger out. Remember, get educated, not fingered. Littlefinger out.